in human history. And as someone who had something to do with the national apology to Indigenous Australians, I look forward to the implementation of the Uluru Statement from the Heart as we advance our national journey towards reconciliation. I welcome Annastacia, the Premier of Queensland. I welcome Richard Marles, the Deputy Leader of the Australian Labor Party. I welcome Queensland's very own Jim Chalmers, Labor's Shadow Treasurer. I welcome Mark Butler, the Shadow Minister for Health. I welcome all other federal and state Labor members, past and present. And most importantly, I welcome the Leader of the Federal Parliamentary Labor Party, Anthony Albanese, who will be addressing us very soon. Fellow Australians, fellow Queenslanders, fellow residents of this, our great city of Brisbane, there is a mood for change right across our nation. In this campaign, I've been in far north Queensland, in southeast Queensland. I've been in Western Sydney. I've been in inner city. I've been in inner Melbourne. I have been in the eastern suburbs of Melbourne. I have been in Adelaide. I've been in Perth. You can feel it right across this nation of ours today. There is a mood for change. After close to 10 long years in office, the people of Australia are fed up to the back teeth with Morrison's Liberals. They're fed up with corruption. They're fed up with incompetence. They're fed up with the blame game. They're fed up with this bloke who doesn't hold a hose. They're fed up with a government that has zero plan for Australia's future, zero plan for the economy and the rebuilding of manufacturing, zero plan for the future of our national security, zero plan for managing cost of living pressures for working families, and zero plan for climate change, and zero plan for aged care, for disability care, for Medicare, for health care, in fact, anything that ends with the word care, because the truth is, they don't care. And that, my friends, is why the people of Australia want to toss this mob out. My fellow Queenslanders, I'm also asking you today to think for a moment about what Australia could be, what it can be, what sort of future we can build together. With a decent government, there can be a better future for all Australians, not just another 3 years of more of the same. We can have a better future with a leader who shows up, who takes responsibility, who doesn't slide off to Hawaii on holiday, leaving half the country on fire and hoping that nobody would notice. But instead, we can have a leader who says to the nation, "This is my job and I accept responsibility for it." We can have a leader who works with the states, who doesn't just blame the states for anything that goes wrong. We can have a leader who builds things up and doesn't just knock things down. we can have a leader whose record in government over many years, as one of our most senior cabinet ministers, is one of building things, of getting stuff done, of getting it done on time and on budget. And my fellow Queenslanders, to secure a better future for all of us, that leader is Anthony Albanese. Friends, speaking of leaders who build things up and then thinking of those who just knock things down, did you see Scotty from Marketing's most recent attempt at personal rebranding? Seriously. With 1 week to go before an election, Scotty from Marketing says, "I'm not going to be a bulldozer anymore." Scotty from Marketing says, hand on heart, forget the fact that I bulldozed Medicare, forget the fact that I bulldozed aged care, forget the fact that I bulldozed disability care, I bulldozed climate care, and I bulldozed and then buried the NBN. Now, forget all of that. Scotty is now hoping he can wave a magic wand, conjure up the fairies at the bottom of the garden, and hey presto, vote for me after nearly 10 years in office because I promise to be a softer, gentler Scotty in the future. Well, pigs might fly. This guy really takes the Australian people to be a bunch of mugs. In the most remarkable attempted political con job I've seen in my long political career, Morrison is actually saying this: vote for me and I promise to have a personality change. What planet is this guy on? What planet is he on? We all know a leopard never changes its spots, other than in Scotty's personal, imaginary world of words, images and marketing gumph. My fellow Australians, my fellow Queenslanders, this mob have run out of puff, they've run out of energy, they've run out of ideas, and if we really want to have a better future for Australia, we must now change the government of Australia. Friends, I'm here today to render my 110% support for Anthony Albanese and his Labor team. I do so because I know Albo, and I've known him for 25 years. And over those 25 years, as a friend, as a colleague, I know for a fact that Albo is the real deal. I have worked with him day in, day out as one of our government's most senior cabinet ministers, as the Minister for Infrastructure, delivering more than $50 billion worth of road, rail and port projects right across this nation. And for those of us in Queensland, it was Albo who delivered the Redcliffe Rail Link, which previous governments had dreamt of doing for more than 100 years. It was Albo who built the Gold Coast Light Rail because Surfers Paradise needed it, not because it was a Labor seat. It was Albo who began the early planning for Cross River Rail, which will revolutionise public transport here in the city of Brisbane. And it was Albo who removed major death traps along the Bruce Highway, not because these were target seats, they weren't, but because it was the right thing to do. Friends, for Queensland's future, and with the enormous infrastructure build we now face for the decade ahead, leading to the 2032 Olympics, Queensland can have no better partner in Canberra than an Albanese Labor government. Because by instinct, by nature and by predisposition, Albo is the nation builder that Queensland needs. My fellow Queenslanders, to elect this Albanese Labor government, we must also elect federal Labor members here in Queensland. And that starts right here in Brisbane. It starts right here in the federal seat of Brisbane, and it starts with the next federal member for Brisbane. Please welcome Madonna Jarrett.
Friends, can I start by thanking our former Prime Minister Kevin Rudd for being here today. Let's put our hands together again for Kevin. And can I also thank him personally for his incredible support to me and to my campaign. It's been invaluable. Kevin and my family go back, way back in fact. When my boys were at school, Kevin wrote them a very short and simple message. And that message said, "Your Prime Minister is watching out for you." Imagine young men growing up in uncertain times, feeling like their future was bright because they had a Labor Prime Minister. Yet, right now, that's not the same for the young people here in Brisbane. They've seen cost of living skyrocketing. Their jobs have become more insecure with flatlining wages and no action on climate change. And all the while, their Prime Minister says, "That's not my job." Well, I say to Scott Morrison and I say to the people of Brisbane, we deserve better. Brisbane, when your local member is a member of the LNP, the truth is Scott Morrison and Barnaby Joyce are in charge, and they offer nothing more than 3 years of the same. The only way to change the government and to change Australia for the better is to vote Labor, vote for a Labor government. And that's why I am asking every person in Brisbane for your vote. You know what? I'm running because I want to be part of the first federal government in nearly a decade to make a positive difference, a government that will create jobs, embrace renewables and bring in that National Anti-Corruption Commission we need to restore integrity into our democracy. We also need a government that will support young people who will become our future. And very importantly, a government that will implement in full the Uluru Statement from the Heart. Voice, treaty, truth. Let's not forget, folks, only a Labor government will do this. We also will have, in the first federal government in a decade, a team of ministers that we can be proud of, a team of experience, a team of passion, and importantly, a team who cares for all Australians. Australia is so ready for change, and I do want to be a part of that change. Friends, I'm so proud to be a part and a member of the Australian Labor Party. I'm a local Paddington girl who grew up in a small workers' cottage not far from here. Dad was the sole income earner an electrician with 8 kids when I was growing up, and it was Medicare, a Labor reform that gave us our stitches and our plaster casts. It was Labor, through accessible university, that enabled me to earn a degree, have a successful career, and make sure my family weren't left behind. But throughout my life, I've repeatedly seen the positive difference that Labor governments can make to the lives of all Australians. And now I want to do something in return. We now have less than a week to go, and you know the old saying, that's a long time in politics. So I implore anyone in this room, any Australian who wants to make a difference, to become part of our Labor family. Join us, volunteer, pick up the phone, knock on the doors, spread that word. We do it because Labor is the party that cares and does the big things, the things that last. But this doesn't happen by chance. And as I look around this room, I see so many people who are giving their bit for change. Some for the first time, some who are seasoned campaigners. And I want to say to each and every one of you, thank you. What is great about Labor is that we are more than just a political party. We are a movement, a community of people who value looking out for each other, no matter who you are, the colour of your skin, who you pray to or who you love. We have a wonderful country, but we all know that together we can lift ourselves even higher. And that will be the spirit of an Anthony Albanese Labor government, just as it's been the spirit of every previous Labor government. An Australian government that is more than just a government in name. An Australian Labor government that will act to build a better future for Brisbane and across Australia.
Hello, my name is Maddie. I'm a first-time voter in this election. Scott Morrison is the past. Labor is the future. On Saturday, I will be voting Labor for my own future and the future of young people in this country.
Maddie, we thank you. Well done. You did an absolutely terrific job. One more time for Maddie, please. To the Turrbal people, to Uncle Bob and generations of elders, we acknowledge you. To Kevin, we salute you. To Madonna, we are so, so proud of you. We are as proud of you today as Jack and Lou would be seeing you up here. We are looking forward to you being the next member for Brisbane in an Albanese Labor government. Now, Queensland, Australia, it's time to choose. We can choose a better future with Labor and Anthony Albanese, or 3 more years of mess and Morrison and drift and dysfunction. We can choose a fresh start with new energy and a real vision to bring this country together. Or we can have 3 more years of complacency and conflict and running for cover when things get difficult. Now, 6 days from now, when you vote for great Labor candidates like Madonna Jarrett here in Brisbane, Rebecca Fanning in Longman, Elida Faith in Leichhardt, Peter Cossar in Ryan, Maddie Burnett in Flynn, you're voting for a Labor Prime Minister who will work with Queenslanders and not against us. Now, I'm sure that Scott Morrison imagines that if he spends a few hours in Brisbane today, 6 days out from the election, Queenslanders will miraculously forget all of the years that he has spent undermining our COVID response, going missing when the going was toughest, dudding us on flood support, ripping us off and talking us down. And on Friday, as Kevin said, he said, "Oh, don't worry about all that, that was some other bloke." Scott Morrison started this campaign saying, "People know who I am." It's only now that it's dawned on him that that's the problem. And so now he wants you to believe that the past 3 or 4 years, the past 9 years, was just a phase he was going through. Now, this is the difference. Scott Morrison thinks Queensland is necessary for his own political survival. Anthony Albanese knows Queensland is absolutely vital to Australia's success. And Albo's affinity with Queenslanders is real. I've seen it for myself in every corner of this state. I've seen the respect that he has for us. I've seen the affinity he has with us. I've seen the belief that he has in us, the vision he has with us front and centre. A vision for new jobs and new industries powered by cleaner and cheaper energy and leveraging our traditional economic strengths, backing local manufacturing and skills and TAFE and a future made right here, cheaper healthcare and childcare and better aged care, and a fair day's pay for a fair day's work. Now, Scott Morrison thinks the people who carried us through the pandemic, the workers who stood on the front line, cleaning hospitals, stacking shelves, delivering food, he thinks they should get a pay cut. He thinks their real wages should go backwards, while this full-blown cost of living crisis on his watch sees everything else go up. He thinks an extra $1 an hour for the lowest paid workers in this country will break the economy. But it's his whole idea of our economy and our country that's broken. Now, I know when people say there are 6 days to go, that all of our hard-working volunteers don't quite think of it like that. You measure it in terms of hundreds of doors still to knock on, thousands of calls still to make, millions of how-to-vote cards. You know it's going to be close. You understand that every minute of every day on pre-poll could spark a conversation that decides a seat, which decides an election and determines our country's future. I wanted to thank you for that and say, let's keep it up. Now, we can see a better future from here, but we have to seize it. We have to make sure that people understand the choices that are central to this election. The choice between leaders who take responsibility and share the credit, or a Prime Minister who takes all the credit and dodges all of the blame. Someone who will be there for us, or a leader who will go missing again and again and again. Someone to bring us together, or someone who intentionally divides us. Somebody who listens, or somebody who always just lectures. Somebody who works with Queenslanders, or somebody who works against us. Anthony Albanese and Annastacia Palaszczuk together, or Scott Morrison and his coalition of chaos with Pauline Hanson and Barnaby Joyce and Clive Palmer calling the shots. Now, Queenslanders, we know how lucky we are. We know what the real deal looks like. We've seen for ourselves the power of genuine, authentic, inclusive, unifying leadership. Because for the last 7 years, Premier Annastacia Palaszczuk has provided it. Giving our state the kind of leadership that's been missing for the best part of the decade at the national level. Annastacia knows a better future is possible if we work together. Please welcome our Premier, Annastacia Palaszczuk.
Friends, can I acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we meet and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. Welcome to the Olympic City of Brisbane and our Olympic State of Queensland. And welcome back, Albo. Albo likes to joke he's as close to being a Queenslander as he can be, except for the 3 nights of the year when State of Origin is playing, or when those Rabbitohs are in town. I'll take that. Because Queensland needs a Prime Minister who is always on our side when it counts. And that is what Anthony Albanese is all about. Friends, there's now just 1 week to go. 1 week to bring it home. 1 week to decide the future we want for our country. A future with Anthony Albanese and Labor, where Australia can look ahead, together, united, with confidence and optimism. Or a future with more of the same, 10 years of Scott Morrison and the Liberal National parties. A future where climate change continues to be denied, where our hospitals continue to be underfunded. A future with Scott Morrison, where our aged care system remains in crisis and the NDIS remains shattered and broken. A future where parents, particularly women, cannot get access to affordable and decent childcare. A future where everything keeps going up except your wages. Friends, this is not the future we want for Queensland, and this is not the future we want for Australia. I often say here in Queensland that our best days are ahead of us. And with Anthony Albanese as Prime Minister, I know Australia's best days are ahead of us. Friends, Albo gets Queensland. He has driven the length and breadth of our state. He's not going to deny Queensland our fair share, like we've seen from Scott Morrison. He knows the issues and he understands us. And unlike Scott Morrison, he knows that Toowoomba is not in the desert. And instead of picking fights with us, whether it's on disaster recovery, healthcare funding or infrastructure, Albo is someone who will work with me to get the job done for Queensland. Now, friends, that's what makes this final week of the campaign so important. We all know that beating this 10-year-old Liberal National Government will not be easy. We're seeing every day that Scott Morrison will do and say anything to sneak across the line. But today, it's my absolute pleasure to introduce to you a good friend of mine and a good friend of Queensland's. A leader whose character and values are on display each and every single day. A leader who fronts up and does not go missing in action. A leader who will unite Australia and bring us together. for a better Australia, please welcome the next Prime Minister of Australia, Anthony Albanese.
I begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we meet. I pay my respect to their elders, past, present and emerging, and I recommit on behalf of the Australian Labor Party to the implementation of the Uluru Statement from the Heart in full. It is great to be back in Queensland. Some of my best mates are Queenslanders. Annastacia Palaszczuk, a great Premier for Queensland. We've got the bloke I had the honour to serve as Deputy Prime Minister under, Kevin Rudd. We've got the Treasurer, who saw us through the global financial crisis better than any of the advanced world once won our national president. And we've got the person who I will appoint as the next Treasurer of Australia if we're successful next week, Jim Chalmers. And the local candidate here, Madonna, who I have known longer than any of them, showing our age here, we met many decades ago in Young Labor. I asked Madonna to run. She will be a great addition to our Labor caucus, along with the rest of the Queensland candidates. My friends, in just 6 days' time, we can choose a better future for Australia, a better future for the great state of Queensland. You can choose a government that wants to work with Queensland, not against Queensland. You can choose a Prime Minister who visits Queensland even when there's no election on, who Queenslanders can rely upon when the going gets tough, and who doesn't bag Queenslanders as cave dwellers when your Premier does the right thing to protect the health and safety of this great state. So thank you, Annastacia, for everything you have done to keep Queensland strong. We worked together when we were both infrastructure ministers, building projects here, creating jobs, creating prosperity here in Queensland, and if I have the great honour of being elected Prime Minister of Australia, I will look forward to renewing that working relationship with you as the Premier of Queensland. I will always back Queensland, but I have a declaration to make. I will always back Queensland 365 days a year and 362 nights a year. Friends, today I want to talk to you about what a better future will look like if we elect a Labor government next Saturday. Just a couple of days ago, Scott Morrison said he was a bulldozer. I kid you not. I had to check with my team. Did he really say that? Because a bulldozer wrecks things. A bulldozer tears things down. But I'm a builder. That's just who I am. Who I've always been. Whether it's building roads or building relationships. Building rail links or building connections. Building a better future has always been my goal, and it's what this campaign is all about. Building a better future where we address the skyrocketing costs of living and get people's wages growing again. A future with cheaper childcare to boost women's economic participation. A future where we strengthen Medicare, where it's easier to see a doctor and medicines are cheaper. A future where we put the care back into aged care. A future where we seize the opportunity that comes with tackling climate change and where we use cheap renewable energy to power new industries and advanced manufacturing and create good, high-paid jobs, where we then train more Australians for those jobs by making investments in fee-free TAFE and additional university places. A future where we build things here in our own country and stand on our own 2 feet, just as the great train builders in Maryborough have shown we can do. A future where we have a real plan to mitigate the ever-intensifying natural disasters. This weekend, I know a lot of people have nervously kept an eye on the river systems, including the Brisbane. It feels almost unbelievable that we could be doing this again, just a matter of weeks after the last time. People watching in apprehension, people trying to cope, people who haven't even recovered from what occurred last time, bracing for another round. Yet the Morrison government treats the Emergency Response Fund as if it was a term deposit. Just there, the $4 billion, pocketing the interest and failing to build a single disaster mitigation project since that fund was established 3 years ago. It sounds dystopian, but it's true. And as if that isn't bad enough, they then decide where the relief should be allocated based upon how people vote. This just has to stop. We can do better, and we will do better. If I have the honour of serving as Prime Minister, the plans I've talked about will help to build a better future, not just for the next couple of years, but for the next generation as well. When you vote for a Labor candidate, you're voting to make life better for yourself, your children, your community, your great state of Queensland and your nation. Because when you elect a Labor member to Parliament, you're also getting a team. Now, sometimes, just sometimes, I do feel a little bit sorry for Scott Morrison. Imagine waking up in the morning and you think about the team out there. I look at my team out there. When I tested positive, they were out there. We knew, we had a plan, no problem. Who's he got? Peter Dutton? Apparently Alan Tudge is somewhere. And then, of course, the Deputy Prime Minister, Barnaby Joyce. And then I just look at my team. Richard as Deputy, Mark, Jim Chalmers, Annika Wells, the people around here. I lead a team with the experience, the intellect, the compassion and the ambition to shape Australia's future. We're all in politics to make a difference, not to just occupy the space. Just as it always has been, our priority will be to use the power of government to change the lives of Australians for the better, because we are driven by two very straightforward principles. No one left behind. That is, we'll always look after the disadvantaged. I'll always stand up for battlers. My opponent wants to cut their pay. And no one held back, because Labor is the party of opportunity and aspiration. They've always been our driving principles. We are the party that built Medicare in the face of such fierce opposition from the Liberals, who've continued to undermine it. Protecting universal health care has been one of the fundamental divides in Australian politics. Strengthening Medicare will be a key focus of an incoming Labor government. Yesterday I announced Labor's Strengthening Medicare Fund and Task Force, a major investment in universal health care. People all across the country have told me during this campaign that it's becoming harder to see a doctor. GP clinics need more support to do the important work that they do. They stepped up during the pandemic, keeping people healthy and strong, which kept our economy running. Our Strengthening Medicare Fund will support and strengthen GP practices, improve primary care, provide better after-hours access, and make sure that people with complex, chronic conditions can access the care that they need when they need it. Our Strengthening Medicare GP grants support and strengthen GP practices through investments that will help them upgrade their medical practices and expand access. We'll roll out 50 GP-led Medicare urgent care clinics right across the country, including one just down the road near the Mater here in South Brisbane, one in Chermside and another in Redcliffe. These clinics will be open longer hours, 7 days a week. They'll provide a whole range of medical services that you never know when you are going to need, whether it's for a broken bone for a little one or an ear infection. Importantly, these services will be bulk billed, and that will make an enormous difference. When you walk in, you won't need your credit card, you'll just need your Medicare card. We will make medicines cheaper for Australians. We will reduce the cost of medication on the PBS by $12.50, making an enormous difference. Under Labor, the maximum price for PBS medicines will be $30. The Pharmaceutical Benefit Scheme is another great Australian achievement. Established by guess who? Labor. Only Labor. We will always protect it. Now, these are precisely the kinds of policies that can make a real difference to people's lives, the kind I think about when I say no one held back and no one left behind. Just as we know Australians need us to strengthen Medicare, we know Australians need real solutions on affordable housing. Our Housing Australia Future Fund will build 20,000 new social housing units and 10,000 affordable homes in the next 5 years, as well as new housing for homeless veterans. We will provide $100 million for crisis and transitional housing for women and children at risk of violence. And if the Australian people elect a Labor government, we will create a new Help to Buy program. The National Shared Equity Scheme will provide an equity contribution from the Commonwealth for up to 10,000 aspiring homeowners on lower middle incomes every year. It's based upon successful models which are out there. Help to Buy will assist Australians to buy a home with a smaller deposit, a smaller mortgage and smaller mortgage repayments. Help to Buy is exactly what I mean when I talk, as I do often, about an economy that works for people, not the other way around. Scott Morrison just doesn't get it. He was out there bagging this scheme after having supported schemes like this for a decade. And at the same time, of course, he said that if you're struggling to pay the rent, just go buy a house. This bloke is totally out of touch, totally out of touch. But back here in the real world, we know the best way to get the economy working for our people is to create good, secure jobs. Australia needs a plan to create an economy where we have high-wage jobs and we have economic growth without increasing inflation. We need to help families with rising costs and make sure their incomes are going up. That's exactly what Labor will do, because our economic plans focus on increasing productivity. That's what our plan for infrastructure is all about. Better infrastructure makes our economy more efficient, moving goods, people and information more effectively. Today I announced that a Labor government will partner with the Palaszczuk government to upgrade the Bruce Highway between Anzac Avenue and Yulman Road. Just like we did other parts of the Bruce, the Ipswich motorway, the Gateway motorway, all of these projects that we did, we will get it done. A Labor government will also embrace the jobs-generating powerhouse that is renewable energy. There's a bit of sun in Queensland. Renewable energy is cheap and abundant in Australia. We can be a renewable energy superpower for the world. Labor's Powering Australia plan will harness our renewables and turn them into jobs and new industries. Powering Australia will create 604,000 new jobs by 2030, 5 out of every 6 of them in regional Australia, and this, the most regionalised state of the country, stands to get the biggest benefit. Jobs up, growth up, and cost of living down. Simple. It's there before us. Business recognise it, which is why Labor will bring people together. the Business Council of Australia, the Australian Industry Group, the Australian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, the National Farmers Federation, the ACTU have all supported our plan. That's what good government looks like. Finding common interests, working together to end the climate wars is what we will do. Now, a couple of days ago, I was up in Gladstone announcing that a Labor government will partner with the Palaszczuk government to kickstart battery manufacturing here. It's a great example of what we can do. Resource exports will always be critical to the Queensland economy and to our national economy. But the truth is, we can and should be adding value here too whenever we can. Australian-made batteries should power your house, your business, your school, and eventually maybe even your car. We can shore up our electricity grid with safe, reliable and sustainable energy that's Australia's from top to bottom, and then we can sell those batteries to the world. We can make Australia a world leader in a future industry that will create good-paying jobs, secure jobs for generations of Australia. And in that spirit, today I announce that Labor will invest $1 billion in advanced manufacturing to create skilled, well-paid jobs and build a future made right here in Australia. The dedicated Advanced Manufacturing Fund will be part of Labor's National Reconstruction Fund, which aims to ensure that Australia will again become a country that makes things. We will rebuild our industrial base, creating new capabilities and opportunities to innovate in transport, defence, resources, agricultural and food processing, medical science, renewables and low-emission technologies. This is the sort of vision that we can seize if we have the ticket to just do it. It's right there before us. But this government that told the car industry to leave Australia will never be capable of doing it. This government has announced 22 energy policies. They haven't landed one of them, not one. Along the way, we were treated to the spectacle of Scott Morrison turning up there in Glasgow, where he gave an empty speech to an empty room. What does it take to give some of the numpties in this government a wake-up call to tell them that climate change is here right now? But the problem is, of course, they can't wake up. They can't even budge because they're lumbered with the lead weight known as Barnaby Joyce. So let's talk about Barnaby for a moment. They tried him out as Deputy Prime Minister. Saw what that was like and went, nah. Got rid of him. But then they decided to try him again. Talk about the sequel that nobody asked for. Labor has a real plan. Reducing emissions, tackling climate change, creating new jobs and ending the climate wars. That's our plan. Now, young Australians know, perhaps better than any of us, that we must get serious about acting on climate change. We have a responsibility to them and a duty to put the next generation in the best possible position to keep taking our nation from strength to strength. We have to ensure that young Australians can get into TAFE and university and acquire the skills that they need for secure, well-paid jobs, which is why Labor has plans for 465,000 fee-free take places in areas of skill shortage and additional university places. But it's also important how we engage with young people. And there are a few things that are more critical than engaging directly with young Australians in our democracy. Labor will introduce a new youth engagement model to provide younger Australians with a voice and an avenue to directly engage with government. We will establish an Office for Youth so there is a dedicated unit in government to make sure we are working with younger Australians on all issues that impact them. And we will have a dedicated Minister for Youth in a government that I lead. All of these actions are designed to ensure that a Labor government is inclusive and brings people together. That's how you build a better future. Now, friends, Scott Morrison has said that Australians know him. Well, he wasn't wrong about that. I reckon people know all about Scott Morrison. They worked him out some time ago. They know he never steps up, he never takes responsibility. He will always go missing when the going gets tough. Now, Scott Morrison used to say that it's better the devil you know. But only the Rolling Stones ever got away with saying you should have sympathy for the devil. So this week, even Scott Morrison is distancing himself from Scott Morrison. He said that, he really did. If you vote for him, instead of getting another 3 years of the same, you'll get someone else. He'll change. He said he was a bulldozer, and when it was pointed out that a bulldozer kind of wrecks things, knocks things over, today he's changed again. Today he's likened himself to a car. Well, if this government is a car, it's been stalled for a long, long period of time. It's blowing smoke. It's out of fuel, and the wheels are falling off. I'll tell you what Australians know. They know that the alternative Prime Minister of this country will stand with battlers when they ask for an extra $1 an hour in their pay packet. And they know that Scott Morrison wants a real wage cut for people who are on the minimum wage of $20.33 an hour. They know that Scott Morrison failed on bushfires, and they know that he failed on floods. They know he didn't order enough vaccines and then didn't order enough rapid antigen tests. They know that the only time frame he ever thinks about for anything, including himself, is the 24-hour news cycle. He will say anything and do anything to get through it. But Australians know the cost of living is rising now. They know climate change is here now. They know jobs and skills and infrastructure that will grow our economy are needed now. And they know this. They know there is a crisis in aged care right now. In a moment of rare honesty, Scott Morrison, in a recent profile, said that he didn't want to leave a legacy. But that is his legacy. Falling living standards, rising costs of living, low wage growth, wages going backwards in recent time, a crisis in aged care, nothing going forward. The truth is that Scott Morrison won't change because he can't change. The only way you can get real change is to change the government next Saturday. So, friends, I say to the Australian people, if you want a National Anti-Corruption Commission, vote for change. If you want to end the waste and the rorts, vote for change. If you want a Prime Minister who understands that our lowest paid workers deserve an extra $1 an hour in their pay, vote for change. If you think that we should be proud of Australia's history, which goes back 65,000 years with the oldest continuous civilisation on the planet, and you want First Nations people recognised in our Constitution, vote for change. If you want to get serious on climate change, vote for change. If you want equality for women, vote for change. If you want cheaper childcare, vote for change. If you want to strengthen Medicare, vote for change. If you want to fix the crisis in aged care, vote for change. And if you believe in hope and unity over fear and division, vote for change. Friends, this Saturday we can be the change that Australia so desperately needs. We can't afford 3 more years of more of the same. 3 more years of a Prime Minister who looks at the problems facing us and says, 4 words you'll never hear me say, that's not my job. Because, friends, I want the job and I want to do that job. I'm very confident that our best days are ahead of us and that Labor knows how to get Australia there and we know how to get Queensland there. With a Labor government that holds no one back and leaves no one behind. A better government that will deliver a better future. Thanks very much.